Welcome to Just About the Universe, the podcast where we dive into the boldest and most thrilling scenarios the universe has to offer. Today, we're tackling a question that sends shivers down the spine. What would happen if Earth were invaded by aliens? Picture an ordinary morning. You wake up, sunlight streaming through your window, your coffee steaming on the table, but then the sky darkens. Massive spacecraft, glinting with otherworldly metal, appear from nowhere, blotting out the sun. Sirens wail across cities. Children stop playing, adults look skyward, and the world holds its breath. This isn't a Hollywood blockbuster. This is the moment humanity faces a threat beyond imagination. Can we, with our rudimentary weapons and unyielding spirit, stand against a galactic empire? Or are we just a fleeting footnote in the cosmic history book? Today, I'm going to tell you a story about a fictional invasion by the Zephyrian Empire, a civilization that rules 12 star systems, with warships capable of reducing planets to ashen hours. But humanity, with its stubbornness, ingenuity, and a touch of madness, achieves the impossible. This tale will take you from the crystalline command rooms of the distant planet Veltar, through ferocious battles in Mars' orbit, to the moments when humanity rises from the ashes to claim its place in the galaxy. Buckle up, because this is going to be a long, emotional, and surprising journey. Our story begins in the command center of the Zephyrian Empire on the planet Veltar, a world where towering crystal spires pierce a crimson sky. Admiral Kestak, a battle-hardened veteran with shimmering silver scales and a tail that sweeps the floor, stands before a three-dimensional holographic star map hovering over a crystal table. 12 red dots blink on the display, each marking the last known location of a Zephyrian scout ship that vanished without a trace. All are investigating a backwater solar system, home to a species called humans. Kestak, his voice deep and authoritative but tinged with unease, orders the battle recordings replayed. The footage flickers into view, grainy but clear enough to stun the room into silence. Human ships, crude, angular, utterly unlike the sleek, curved elegance of Zephyrian vessels, had destroyed 3 of their reconnaissance fleets. No energy weapons or plasma shields here. Humans fired solid chunks of metal at terrifying speeds, nearly 10% the speed of light. One human destroyer, instead of retreating when outnumbered, rammed straight through a Zephyrian cruiser's energy shield, tearing it apart with raw kinetic force. Sub-Commander Thielkari, his blue-scaled face twisted in confusion, mutters, "They don't follow battle doctrine. When overwhelmed, they attack with greater fury. When cornered, they don't surrender." To the Zephyrians, this is unthinkable. Their empire has conquered dozens of species over millennia, wielding superior technology and rigid, time-tested tactics. Humans controlling just 1 star system with weapons the Zephyrians consider Stone Age relics should have begged for mercy. But no, they fight with a ferocity bordering on insanity, like prehistoric hunters facing beasts on the savannah. Tactical analyst Morph, stationed at the data terminals, offers a theory that makes Kestak pause. She suggests humans evolved from predatory pack hunters, their survival instincts so strong that the concept of surrender is alien to them. They fight not for victory, but for existence itself. Billions of light years away, on lunar station orbiting Earth, Commander Jake Morrison floats in the observation deck, gazing at the blue marble planet below. From this distance, Earth looks serene, a jewel in the void, but Morrison knows it's a lie. The planet is on high alert after initial clashes with Zephyrian scouts near the asteroid belt. Cities are evacuating civilians to underground bunkers. Factories work around the clock, converting cargo haulers into warships and mining equipment into weapons. Amy Turner reports that Neptune Station, home to early warning sensors capable of detecting ships light years away, has gone silent for 6 hours. Its last transmission described massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. Morrison's stomach tightens, but he keeps his composure. If Neptune is down, the enemy is already in the solar system, and humanity's time is running out. Lunar Station, once a research outpost, is now humanity's first line of defense. Engineers work tirelessly. Pilot Lisa Chong runs combat simulations on holographic displays, sweat beading on her forehead as she calculates attack trajectories. Engineer Carlos Rodriguez, hands smeared with grease, tweaks power systems to push ships beyond their design limits. Marine Sergeant Ryan Cooper reviews defensive positions across the solar system, from the asteroid belt to Jupiter's orbit. Carlos, analyzing wreckage from prior encounters, uncovers a critical Zephyrian weakness. Their energy shields, though advanced, are designed to disperse plasma blasts and energy beams but falter against kinetic weapons, solid objects moving at near-light speeds. Lisa, hearing this, nods excitedly. She realizes that mining ships built to haul massive asteroids became unexpected heroes in the last battle. One such ship with a reinforced hull punched through a Zephyrian cruiser's shield, proving that raw simplicity can outmatch high tech. On Earth, deep beneath the White House in the Situation Room, President Helen Washington stands before a display showing the Zephyrian fleet's approach vector, a red arrow aimed at humanity's heart. Her military advisors deliver grim news. Humanity has just 230 combat-capable ships, mostly retrofitted civilian vessels, with combined firepower less than a single Zephyrian capital ship. Diplomatic efforts have failed. The Zephyrians don't respond, don't negotiate. Defense Secretary Paul Mitchell is blunt. We can't win with conventional strength. But Washington doesn't flinch. With steely resolve, she orders planned defiance. No retreat, no surrender. If the Zephyrians want Earth, they'll pay in blood. The fateful battle begins as the Zephyrian Crimson Talon fleet, with 60 capital ships and 300 escorts, emerges at the solar system's edge. Each capital ship is a flying fortress, armed with weapons that could melt planets. War Commander Vexinari, standing on the bridge of inevitable conquest, smirks at humanity's meager force of fewer than 50 ships. He opens a channel, his voice booming across all frequencies, translated into dozens of Earth languages. Primitive humans, surrender and serve the Zephyrian Empire, or be annihilated within one of your solar days. But humanity doesn't bow. Captain Steve Martinez, commanding the patrol vessel New Frontier, responds with defiance that stuns Vexinari. We don't need your empire. Withdraw from our solar system now or face the consequences. Furious at human arrogance, Vexinari orders a full assault, but humanity is ready with a brutal trap. Near Mars orbit, Commander Morrison launches planned Sledgehammer, turning the planet's orbital infrastructure into a chaotic killing field. Mining stations launch thousands of metal fragments, raw ore, old satellites, even construction containers, creating a deadly debris cloud that forces the Zephyrian fleet to slow down. Human ships, from military destroyers to retrofitted garbage scows, charge into battle at insane speeds. They disable safety systems, enduring crushing G-forces for maneuverability that Zephyrian ships, designed for crew comfort, can't match. Captain Danny Wright, aboard Last Stand, leads a spiraling attack on a Zephyrian cruiser. His ship, a retrofitted freighter clad in thick steel, fires metal slugs at 10% light speed. Shredding the enemy's shields and hull, Blood vessels burst in his eyes from the G-forces, but he keeps his hand steady, shouting, "This is for everyone we've lost." Meanwhile, Sergeant Katie Walsh, leading a Marine boarding team, undertakes the boldest mission, infiltrating the Zephyrian flagship Inevitable Conquest. Using asteroid mining techniques, they crash their transport through the enemy hull and fight through crystalline corridors lit by eerie blue light. The Zephyrians, tall and graceful like dancers, adhere to formal combat codes, duels and ancient rituals. But Walsh's team ignores such niceties. They use explosives, ambushes, and guerrilla tactics, turning the ship into a chaotic battlefield. Walsh, wielding a stolen Zephyrian energy rifle, barks to her squad. They think war has rules. Let's show them how humans fight when there are no rules. Engineer Carlos Rodriguez, accompanying the boarding team, discovers a game-changer. The Zephyrian fleet's quantum communication network, linking every ship for coordinated tactics and targeting. Carlos, with his quick-thinking mind, proposes a desperate plan. Overload the network, even if it destroys the ship, and them with it. Walsh, without hesitation, orders, "Do it. We knew this was a one-way trip." The resulting explosion not only obliterates Inevitable Conquest, but cripples the entire Zephyrian comms network. Suddenly, 60 capital ships become isolated targets, unable to coordinate in a battlefield of debris and unpredictable human attacks. Captain Martinez seizes the moment, leading a squadron of heavy cruisers straight into the enemy formation's heart. Shouting a battle cry that echoes across the system, "Remember Earth!" The cry spreads like wildfire, inspiring every human ship to abandon defensive positions for an all-out assault. From the asteroid belt to Mars orbit, human vessels, military and civilian alike, charge with reckless abandon, bewildering the Zephyrians. A fighter squadron led by Lieutenant Commander Nick Palmer, equipped with experimental ram scoops, turns battlefield debris into massive shotgun blasts targeting enemy capital ships. But the decisive blow comes from an unexpected source: Earth's civilian population. President Washington had authorized converting the planet's telecommunications satellites into a colossal directed energy weapon. When the beam fires from Earth's surface, it strikes Emperor Kethanari's dreadnought, the supreme leader of the Zephyrians, who had come to witness humanity's destruction. The dreadnought's shields flare and collapse, and the ship explodes in a blinding fireball. Kethanari, who conquered dozens of species over 3 centuries, dies without a word. The dreadnought's destruction marks the turning point. With their comms network down and their emperor dead, Zephyrian commanders descend into chaos. War Commander Vexenari, now on a backup vessel after losing 2 flagships, faces an unprecedented choice: fight to total annihilation or surrender. His voice heavy with defeat, he transmits, "Request terms for cessation of hostilities." On Lunar Station, Commander Morrison, now promoted to Admiral after the fleet commander's death, receives the signal. His response is firm but weary. "We'll negotiate, but on our terms. Complete withdrawal from our solar system and recognition of human sovereignty. Agreement is simple. The Zephyrians withdraw, barred from military presence within 50 light-years of Earth. In return, humanity won't pursue or interfere with their territory. But this victory is more than a ceasefire. It's a galactic statement. Humanity will not be subdued." News of the Zephyrian defeat spreads across the galaxy at light speed, reaching species long oppressed by the Empire. Some send signals to Earth, proposing mutual defense alliances. Others watch humanity with wary respect. On Earth, President Washington addresses the world in a speech etched into history. Today, we proved that freedom isn't granted by the strong to the weak. It's taken by those willing to fight for it with blood, sweat, and unbreakable will. At Lunar Station, Dr. Alex Thompson establishes a lab to study captured Zephyrian tech. His team discovers their energy weapons operate on fixed frequencies, and they begin developing broadband jammers to disable them. Thompson, briefing Morrison, says excitedly, "We're talking about massive radio jammers tuned to their weapon signatures. A few weeks, and we could blind them in the next fight. Humanity builds a new, larger fleet. Earth's factories churn out warships at unprecedented speed, while engineers refine kinetic weapons based on lessons from Mars. Every Zephyrian wreck is analyzed, every tactic documented to forge a new military doctrine, one rooted not in tech superiority, but in adaptability and innovation. Most importantly, the victory transforms humanity. For the first time, every nation, culture, and people unites for a single goal: survival. Old conflicts fade. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and civilians work as one, sharing a belief that humanity can not only survive but shape the galaxy's future. What does this story tell us? If aliens invade, humanity won't just fight, we'll adapt, innovate, and endure. We may lack their technology, but our stubborn will, audacity, and ability to turn the ordinary into weapons define us. From prehistoric hunters facing beasts to pilots charging into battle at deadly speeds, humanity finds a way to overcome any odds, no matter how slim. Critics argue that if evolution occurred gradually as Darwin described, the fossil record should be flooded with intermediate forms, but in reality the fossil history shows large gaps, where new species appear suddenly without transitional traces. Some scientists like Stephen Jay Gould propose the theory of punctuated equilibrium, evolution occurring in short bursts interspersed with long periods of stability, to explain this. But even so, many questions remain. How do we explain the complexity of organs like the human eye or brain without viable intermediate steps? And why, despite modern technology like DNA analysis, do we still lack convincing evidence for transitions between major species? Let's dive deeper into specific criticisms. One of the biggest issues is the missing links problem. Darwin worried that fossils didn't support his theory, and in fact, after more than a century, the gaps still exist. For example, in an article from the Institute for Creation Research, ICR, they argue that we cannot identify ancestors or missing links, and cannot design testable theories to explain how specific evolutionary events occurred. A study from PubMed discusses the missing links issue from past to present, noting that the problem of links and phylogenies at the species and genus level has lessened over the past 120 years, but is still not fully resolved. On Quora, many criticize that the main flaw is Darwin, and his contemporaries not understanding how variations are maintained in populations. Darwin described the lack of missing links as the most serious objection in an article on evolution, education, and outreach. On Reddit, a user argues that Darwin made false assumptions based on observations, claiming that over long periods species evolve from one type of animal to another completely different one. The University of Tasmania discusses discovering the missing link in Darwin's theory of evolution, where he couldn't explain why there are periods of significant growth and periods of little evolution. New research from phys.org shows that recent evolutionary studies reject the theory of living missing links, because evolution is not a steady march toward more sophisticated organisms. On Reddit, users discuss the real weaknesses of evolution theory. noting that it can make strong interpolation predictions but not strict extrapolations. Christian Courier emphasizes that Darwin admitted the lack of transitional fossils is the most serious objection. William Seitz discusses the dark side of Darwinism, noting that Darwin's theory has racist elements. New research from SciTech Daily shows that Darwin's fear was unwarranted, as the fossil record is incomplete, but allows effective reconstruction of evolutionary history. Answers in Genesis discusses Schlitzie the Missing Link and early Darwinian sideshow programs. Wikipedia on objections to evolution notes that critics claim evolution is just a theory, emphasizing that scientific theories are never absolute. Pennis addresses Darwin's dilemma with the discovery of the missing Precambrian record of life. Catholic culture examines evolution, the missing link, providing a history of evolutionary thought and explaining the theory. NCSE argues that transitional fossils are not rare. Answers in Genesis provides evidence against evolution, arguing that evolution cannot occur based on scientific observations. Live Science defends Darwin's theory as one of the most solid theories. The Darwin Project lists 6 things Darwin never said. YouTube has mathematical challenges to Darwin's theory. Nevertheless, modern science still regards evolution as the foundation for human origins. But if we look deeper, are we overlooking other possibilities? Let's think about the human body, a masterpiece of intricacy. From cell structure to the immune system, everything is so perfect that it's hard to believe it's a product of randomness. This reminds me of a famous anecdote between 2 great scientists, Isaac Newton and Edmond Halley. Halley, famous for calculating the orbit of Halley's comet, was Newton's close friend but an atheist. One day, Halley visited Newton and saw an exquisite model of the solar system that Newton had crafted. At the center was a gold-plated sun, with planets orbiting harmoniously with just a crank pull. Halley admired it and asked, "Who created this wonderful model?" Newton replied, "No one. It was just random materials colliding to form it." Halley vehemently objected, insisting that a genius must have made it. At that moment, Newton patted his friend's shoulder and said, "This model, though intricate, is nothing compared to the real solar system. If you believe someone created it, then the solar system, which is hundreds of millions of times more complex, must surely have been created by an omnipotent God." Halley suddenly awakened and began to believe in the existence of God. This story is not just a philosophical argument, but reflects the views of many scientists. The universe and life are too perfect to be products of chance. If a monkey played the piano randomly for millions of years, could it play Beethoven's symphony? Modern science sometimes applies similar logic to human origins, viewing life as a result of probability. But that probability is so small it's almost impossible. Now let's move to newer hypotheses. In the book Humans Are Not From Earth, by Dr. Ellis Silver, an American ecologist, he argues that humans did not evolve on Earth. Silver points out a series of biological weaknesses, proving we don't belong to this planet. First, humans are too fragile in Earth's environment. We get sunburned after just a few hours in the sun, while other species like lizards can bask all day without issue. Silver suggests our skin was designed for a planet with a thicker ozone layer or less UV radiation. Next, chronic back pain, a common issue in modern humans. Silver claims this is because we evolved in a place with lower gravity than Earth, so our spines haven't fully adapted. Then there's the size of newborns' heads. The baby's head is too large for the mother's pelvis, leading to difficult births, even death, something rare in other animal species. Silver compares, if we evolved naturally on Earth, why isn't our body more optimized? Another interesting point. The human biological clock seems designed for a 25-hour day, not Earth's 24 hours. Studies show that when isolated from sunlight, our sleep-wake cycle extends to 25 hours. Additionally, humans suffer from many chronic diseases like diabetes, cancer, and allergies, much higher than other species. We also don't adapt well to wild foods. Many natural plants are toxic to us, while animals eat them without harm. Silver concludes, humans may be immigrants from another planet, brought here by an advanced civilization. He even suggests the original planet might have lower gravity, longer days, and less UV. This sounds like science fiction, but it explains why we feel out of place on Earth. As Silver says, many people feel Earth is not their home. Let's expand on Silver's book. In a summary from Sabrief, the main argument is that humans did not evolve on Earth, but were brought from another planet. On Reddit, users discuss the book, noting that Silver encourages proving and disproving the theory. LinkedIn reviews the book, stating that evidence suggests humans are not native to Earth. New Age Islam quotes the book, questioning how we got here and if we are aliens. Shortform provides a PDF summary, discussing hypotheses about the original planet's characteristics. Goodreads describes the book as examining evidence around us. Quora asks if you agree with Silver that we were placed here by aliens. Barnes & Noble and Amazon sell the book, emphasizing Silver's exploration. Shortform summarizes, presenting an alternative theory. Quora discusses Silver's purpose, noting he selects evidence for his hypothesis. Sobrief describes Silver as garnering attention in conspiracy circles. Alien Element quotes the book, claiming aliens placed humans here recently. YouTube has a podcast summarizing the book. Script reviews pointing out physiological traits as evidence. To support this hypothesis, let's look at DNA. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, shows that about 8% of human DNA is from ancient viruses, genetic code segments extraterrestrial, in the sense not from local evolution. These are endogenous retroviruses, possibly from space via panspermia, the theory that life spreads through meteorites. Some scientists even suspect they contain cosmic information we haven't decoded yet. Though not alien DNA like in Hollywood movies, it suggests our origins are more complex than we think. Now, let's explore panspermia in more detail. Panspermia is the hypothesis that seeds of life exist throughout the universe and can spread through space. There are 3 stages: escape from a planet, transit through interplanetary space, and landing on another planet. Science Direct defines panspermia as the hypothesis that seeds of life spread through space. EBSCO explains that panspermia proposes life on Earth came from microorganisms or precursors from space. Astrobiology discusses material-based panspermia, the potential of polymer gels. Azo Life Sciences explains the hypothesis proposing life came to Earth from space via comets or meteorites. Reddit discusses panspermia as the theory that life didn't develop on Earth but came from space. Paleo Electronica links Mars, panspermia, and the origin of life. Astronomy.com explains panspermia suggests seeds of life already existed in the universe and came to Earth. Sky at Night magazine defines panspermia as the theory that life was brought by meteorites, comets, or asteroids. Now, let's talk about extraterrestrials and UFOs. In recent years, thousands of UFO reports have astonished the scientific community. These objects appear and disappear without a trace, surpassing human technology by hundreds of times. For example, US pilots report UFOs moving at supersonic speeds without sonic booms, or changing direction abruptly without inertial forces. The Pentagon even acknowledges concerns about technical supremacy from extraterrestrials. But despite their superior technology, alien bodies seem less perfect than humans. According to some reports, they are frail and dependent on technology. Let's examine recent UFO reports in 2025. NewsNation reports over 2,000 UFO sightings in the first half of 2025. YouTube explores ancient theories about time travelers among us. Another YouTube discusses the evolution of UFO and alien conspiracy theories globally. GSDVS explores the latest UFO phenomena in 2025. IFL Science notes, the number of people believing aliens have visited us is increasing. Here's the English translation of your text, keeping the academic and philosophical tone. The limitations of human awareness of the truth of human origin. Human awareness of the truth about the origins of mankind across nations of the world remains limited. At present, researchers do not yet fully understand the relationship between writing and speech in linguistics, nor do they properly grasp many related concepts such as origin, truth, humankind, development. They also lack clarity regarding the connection between climate and human existence. Environments that are excessively hot are linked with the fact that humans did not originate and could not develop there. Excessively cold environments are linked with the fact that humans had not yet originated and had not yet developed there, while temperate environments are associated with the truth that humans did originate and develop. This limited awareness of the truth of human origin has led researchers to fail to distinguish clearly the relationship between the unreal nature of the phenomenon of vitality, in which the individual human neither originates nor develops in the future, the not yet real essence of the entity of life, in which collective humanity had not yet originated and had not yet developed in the past, and the real truth of the actuality of life, in which human society originates and develops in the present. This can be modelled as past, life not yet originated, not yet developed; present, life originated and developed; future, vitality neither originated nor developed. In other words, researchers failed to distinguish between the not yet real essence of life, the unreal nature of vitality, and the real truth of actual human life. This aligns with what Einstein once remarked shortly before his death. "I want to go when I want. Prolonging life artificially is tasteless." This limited awareness of the truth of human origin also leads to misunderstanding of the causes behind phenomena such as the Earth spinning faster, whether this results from surface warming or signals the onset of a new global heating era, caused by humanity's uncultured impact, making global average temperature temporarily exceed the threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It also prevents researchers from answering the question, "Who am I?" leaving humanity for many years to live in darkness and ignorance, in greed, hatred and cruelty, in violence, war, destruction of the environment, and harm to one another. This limited awareness of the truth of human origin has resulted in errors such as the theory of struggle for survival, the strong over the weak in Darwin's theory of evolution, in the mistaken belief of some researchers that humans on Earth originated from another world in the universe, and in persistent disputes over whether human evolution began in Africa. To correctly perceive the truth of human origin, it is necessary to fully understand the truth of the word human, a term that encompasses its essential aspects as follows. The Ya form of human corresponds with the unreal nature of the phenomenon of individual vitality within society. The Ya content of human corresponds with the not yet real essence of the entity of life, of groups within nature. The B principle of human corresponds with the real truth of the actuality of life of individuals, groups, communities and nations within human society. This can be modelled as the not yet real essence of group life in nature, the real truth of actual life of individuals, groups, and communities of nations in human society, the unreal nature of the phenomenon of individual vitality within society. In other words, correct awareness of the truth of human origin is inseparable from a clear understanding of the truth of the word human. Humanity is inseparable from truth. Without understanding the truth of the word human, one cannot truly recognize the truth of human origin. Nature examines expert figures in alien-related UFO conspiracy theories. ETV Bharat explores World Contact Day 2025 with war, chaos, and multiple UFO sightings. YouTube has Da Vinci's hidden alien messages decoded. TikTok explores the clearest UFO footage in 2025. SCMP provides the latest news on UFOs and extraterrestrial life. YouTube has the top 5 UFO sightings that shock the world for World UFO Day 2025. Britannica provides history, sightings, and facts about UFOs. Science Focus lists UFOs that scientists think are real but can't explain. Science News notes scientists getting serious about UFOs. Wikipedia on UFO conspiracy theories links cover-ups with abductions and more. YouTube has the God vs. UFOs documentary. Live now from Fox notes, aliens may be living among us disguised as humans, according to Harvard. Reddit debates if all alien sightings are fake. NewsNation discusses a hidden UFO civilization could be on Earth. Pennsylvania State University examines a book on the history of UFOs. An interesting story from China. The old monk Huang Yusheng, who practiced from a young age in Jinan, Shandong. After achieving enlightened wisdom, he communicated with an extraterrestrial being coded a K5T. According to him, hundreds of millions of years ago, Earth was the home of aliens with advanced technology, but the environment was harsh, without oceans or flora and fauna. Then a major event occurred. A loud explosion shook the heavens, 7 colored auras, and higher beings, like gods, appeared. They relocated all aliens to another planet with just a wave of the hand. After that, Earth was remodeled, with oceans, plants, animals, and humans became the new masters. Aliens, despite advanced technology, still covet humans' cultivation abilities, achieving immortality without machines. They study humans, even abducting for experiments, but cannot replicate the perfect mechanisms of our bodies. Because humans were created by gods, with flexible natures and the ability to cultivate mind and body, to transcend birth, aging, sickness, and death. Aliens realize that their science, even when given to humans, like atomic bombs, only leads to self-destruction. So they stopped sharing and monitor us like cosmic police. In summary, whether from scientific, theological, or extraterrestrial hypotheses, human origins remain a great mystery. Perhaps we're not random products of Earth, but masterpieces of a higher intelligence. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more episodes. We'll pause to consider the vastness, the beauty, and the sheer weirdness of it all. Because to answer if another world hides inside a black hole, we must confront the immense scale of space-time, where these cosmic beasts not only devour, but perhaps create, nurture, and reinvent, and where every particle might hold the story of concealed realms, waiting to be unraveled like a ball of yarn in a kitten's paws. And perhaps, through this journey, we'll realize that the question isn't just about the darkness out there, but also about our own place in this endless void, where every observation today could become a trace or merely a fading echo tomorrow. Just remember, if you feel a pull during this episode, it's probably gravity, or that second slice of pizza calling your name from the fridge. Either way, let's dive in, but keep your sense of humour handy. cosmos can be a funny place when you least expect it. When we talk about black holes, we often think of them as monsters in the cosmos, devourers of light, endpoints of stars, and the universe's way of saying, you think traffic jams are bad? Try eternal gridlock. The supermassive ones at galaxy centers, like Sagittarius A in our Milky Way, or the stellar remnants left after supernovas, like cosmic confetti from a star's explosive retirement party that no one RSVP'd to. Even when we stretch our minds to the event horizon, that invisible boundary where escape velocity exceeds light speed, it feels like the edge of oblivion, or the ultimate do not enter sign with a beware of dog addendum, where the dog is gravity itself. Yet, for us mere mortals, it already feels like a profound mystery, enough to fill observatories with debates, simulations, and probably a lot of caffeine-fueled arguments. And if you're like me, enough to make you wonder if your keys fell in there too, or if that's where all the odd socks go for their reunion. But black holes are much vaster in implication, old enough to overwhelm us. Not billions, but perhaps infinite in their potential. Like that one relative who always overstays at family gatherings and tells the same stories. The universe may contain trillions of these enigmatic entities, some as old as 13 billion years, give or take the Big Bang's timeline. For most of cosmic history, they've been silent guardians, shaping galaxies without fanfare, like introverted architects who prefer working from home and avoiding small talk. Matter falls in, spiraling down in a dance of doom, but what happens beyond the point of no return? According to Einstein's general relativity, space-time curves infinitely at the singularity, a point of zero volume and infinite density, basically the universe's version of cramming for an exam at the last minute, where everything gets squeezed into one chaotic note. Yet, though it sounds final and a bit depressing, this is where most of the universe's secrets might be written, tucked away in a cosmic diary that's locked and thrown into the void, layer upon layer, event upon event, in a slow warping and quick forgetting way that makes even the most patient archivist throw up their hands. Imagine deep space-time as a vast canvas, where each black hole is a fold, and most folds are concealed, leaving only faint gravitational waves for us to decipher, where each lost detail is a missed opportunity to understand existence. And if those waves could talk, they'd probably say, "Sorry, we're a bit wavy today," before fading into static. Hawking radiation suggests black holes evaporate slowly over unimaginable timescales, like that ice cube you forgot in your drink that eventually turns into nothing but a wet spot. But what of the inside during this long goodbye? Theories like black hole cosmology propose that our universe is inside one, with the Big Bang as a white hole expulsion, or the singularity birthing new realities, kind of like nature's ultimate recycling program where old universes get turned into new ones with better features. Viewed this way, evidence isn't destroyed, it's repurposed, transformed, perhaps even upgraded. Surviving the horizon is already an extraordinary event, a rebellion against entropy's grasp, or as I like to call it, the cosmic equivalent of sneaking out past curfew and not getting caught. So let's imagine, just as a thought experiment, and hold on to your hats, or they'll spaghettify too. Suppose you approach a black hole, your body elongated like a bad yoga pose gone wrong, but instead of annihilation and a dramatic end credits roll, you cross into another world. Maybe 100 million light-years away in some distant corner of the cosmos, long after stars formed but before galaxies matured into their current shapes, an intelligent realm evolved inside this gravitational giant? Perhaps not carbon-based or even matter-bound. Maybe they're just energy beings hosting the universe's longest glow-in-the-dark rave, complete with pulsing lights and no closing time, It flourished, building societies on the fabric of warped time, exploring the boundaries of their enclosed realm. Then something happened. A merger and evaporation, or just the slow fading of gravity, like forgetting where you parked your spaceship after a long night out. It vanished, leaving behind only whispers in the waves, and now we arrive, eons later, asking if we'd know if it was ever there. Spoiler, probably not, unless they left a "we were here" graffiti on the Singularity or a time capsule that somehow survived the ultimate pressure cooker. Because the harsh truth is, realities aren't as durable as we think. They're not built to last like that one pair of jeans from high school. Galaxies merge like awkward family reunions where everyone brings drama, stars explode in dramatic exits worthy of a soap opera, horizons shift like bad hair days that never end. None built to survive cosmic time, leave a universe alone for a few billion years. Entropy reclaims it faster than mold on forgotten cheese in the fridge. A few more, it's hard to see what was there. The details blurred like a photo taken on a shaky hand. But a few trillion years. Hawking evaporation, quantum fluctuations, dissolution. Like the universe hitting the reset button after a bad game and starting over with new rules. By then, the fabric has changed completely. What was a world might be radiation, scattered like confetti after the party. What was structure might be echoes, faint and fading, and most traces disappear, leaving us to ponder if it was all just a cosmic prank played on curious minds like ours. Think of the Event Horizon Telescope's image of a black hole, a fuzzy ring of light from 2019, looking like a donut that's seen better days, or perhaps the universe's attempt at abstract art. But nature has already started blurring traces, with accretion disks fluctuating like a bad Wi-Fi signal during a storm. Now, scale that to eons. Even gravitational scars could dissolve into quantum foam, becoming a vague anomaly, no longer telling tales of hidden worlds, more like whispering you had to be there before going silent. And if the universe's entropy is the rule, then black holes are its embodiment, where everything, from stars to civilizations, eventually returns to nothingness, a grand cosmic back to square one. This makes us wonder, is our reality an exception, or just a short chapter in the warped book of existence? To expand on this, let's consider the variety of black holes themselves. There are stellar mass black holes, formed from collapsed stars, weighing about 5 to 100 times the mass of our Sun. Small fries in the cosmic scale, but still capable of swallowing whole systems if they get close enough. Then there are intermediate mass black holes, the middle children of the family, perhaps 100 to 100,000 solar masses, lurking in globular clusters and playing hide-and-seek with astronomers. And finally, the supermassive behemoths, millions to billions of solar masses, sitting at the hearts of galaxies like lazy kings on thrones, influencing everything around them without moving a muscle. Each type could potentially host different kinds of worlds. A small one might have a cozy, intimate interior, while a supermassive could be a sprawling metropolis of realities. But no matter the size, the warping is the same, relentless, unforgiving, and oddly democratic, treating stars and planets alike as mere snacks. This variety adds another layer to our speculation. If smaller black holes evaporate faster, their hidden worlds might escape as radiation sooner, leaving behind bursts of information that we could, in theory, decode, like popping a balloon and trying to read the confetti. Larger ones, with longer lifetimes, might hold on to their secrets for trillions of years, allowing complex systems to evolve in ways we can't even fathom. Perhaps in one of these giants, a world has developed technology to harness the singularity itself, turning the point of infinite density into a power source or a portal. But again, without signals crossing the horizon, we're left guessing, like trying to figure out what's inside a wrapped gift without shaking it too hard. In essence, the scale of black holes reminds us that the universe operates on levels far beyond our everyday experience. It's a place where big and small lose meaning, where time can stretch like rubber and space can fold like origami gone wrong. As we delve deeper, keep in mind that these ideas, while grounded in science, invite us to stretch our imaginations. Just don't stretch too far, or you might end up spaghettified in thought alone. This isn't pure fantasy. It's based on what we know from relativity and quantum mechanics, though if relativity had a sense of humour, it'd be the one telling dad jokes about time flying when you're having fun, and quantum mechanics would be the punster saying I'm uncertain about that. Traces of alternate realities are elusive too, not because worlds don't exist, but because black holes are efficient recyclers, like that friend who turns your old junk into art you don't understand, or worse, art you do understand but wish you didn't. Look at the cosmic record. It's patchwork at best, like a quilt made by a committee of indecisive aliens who couldn't agree on the colours. Not because the universe isn't vast, but because observation conditions are specific. You need the right angle, or it's like trying to watch a movie through a keyhole while wearing sunglasses. Most events that occur don't leave detectable signals. They dissipate into the void, like bad ideas at a brainstorming session that never make it to the whiteboard. They're obscured by cosmic dust or gravity's heavy hand. They vanish faster than your New Year's resolutions in February. To become observable, you need alignment, persistence, and protection from dispersion. Then luck for that signal to reach us, be detected, and be interpreted, preferably before the next coffee break or funding cut. Multiply that challenge by the horizon's barrier, and you start to see the scale of the problem. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. If the haystack was the size of the universe, the needle was microscopic and the hay was on fire. And it's not just signals, structures, energies, fields, even made from exotic matter, don't last forever. Most particles decay like overripe fruit left in the sun. Most fields dissipate, especially under extreme gravity, like trying to hold a conversation in a wind tunnel during a hurricane. Even space-time, if quantum gravity holds, might foam and reform, bubbling like a cosmic soda that's been shaken too hard and is ready to explode. So if a world existed inside a black hole, especially one not leaving vast gravitational imprints, we might never know unless they sent a postcard. But postage from a singularity is killer, and delivery is eternal. You might wonder, has anyone seriously considered this? And the answer is yes, with a side of hold my telescope and a dash of pass the popcorn. In recent years, physicists like Nikodem Popłowski and others have explored black hole cosmology, suggesting universes form inside black holes via torsion in general relativity, like twisting a balloon animal into a new reality, complete with party hats. They didn't propose such worlds exist, but asked how we detect them if they did. They called it a model for multiverse nesting, a nod to fractal cosmologies that sound like the universe's Russian doll collection, where each doll has its own little universe inside ad infinitum. Their real question was methodological. What traces would a nested world leave in the outer universe after eons? And could those traces be there, misidentified as something else? Like mistaking a cosmic burp for a profound message from the beyond, or a gravitational wave for the universe's stomach growling. They focused on signs, spin alignments in early galaxies, unusual matter distribution, synthetic quantum states not occurring naturally, like finding a designer handbag in a thrift store, or a gourmet meal in a vending machine. In other words, They think like detectives who find no portal, no gateway, no witnesses, but hope the horizon still tells a story, even if it's the butler did it with gravity, or a whodunit where the culprit is time itself. And in doing so, they raise an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Maybe it's just how we look when gravity resets its canvas every few horizons, like a cosmic etcher sketch shake after a frustrating drawing. Because worlds don't vanish cleanly, they leave echoes, like that song stuck in your head from a commercial you hate. Energy fluxes, gravitational waves, Hawking radiation, all leave fingerprints, but fingerprints fade, especially if the culprit is wearing gloves made of quantum foam or has washed their hands in the river of time. And if a prior world went through a Big Bang equivalent, could we still see the impact in cosmic microwave background, dark matter patterns, or ancient light compositions? Maybe yes, maybe no, like asking if your cat pushed the glass off the table on purpose, or if it was just gravity. This isn't idle speculation. Thinking this way helps physicists test theoretical limits. It's about understanding not just what we observe, but what we might miss, like that plot twist in a movie you slept through because the popcorn was too good. The cosmic record is full of gaps. Some epochs are well mapped, like popular tourist spots with good reviews. Others are almost erased, like bad tattoos you regret. Quantum fluctuations can remove data layers that took billions of years to form, like a cosmic delete button pressed by accident. Gravitational waves can fold, fault, and bury entire regions. Most of the universe's interior is cosmologically young. That means it's been renewed or altered in the last few billion years, like a software update that wipes your history and adds new bugs. Even black hole interiors might recycle through evaporation, turning old realities into new ones like a gravitational thrift shop where everything is as is. That means if an ancient world built anything near horizons or in now warped zones, there's a real chance their traces are now at a singularity, slowly leaking as radiation. Talk about a slow news day or the universe's drip-feed newsletter. And yet here we are now, observing, theorizing, simulating, and occasionally scratching our heads in confusion. We wonder if we're alone in the cosmos, but rarely ask if we're alone inside our own potential black hole. Like being the only kid at a party wondering where the cake is, only to realize it's in the fridge, in another dimension. Perhaps the interior is quieter than we think, or perhaps we've lost the ability to hear it over the noise of our own theories and the hum of everyday life. We'll continue right after this, as we look closer at what might survive, what won't, and whether we've already stumbled upon traces without realizing it, like finding a cosmic Easter egg and thinking it's just a rock, or worse, trying to eat it. In everyday conversation, we think of a world as a realm with matter, life, laws, perhaps planets, stars, societies, and hopefully better coffee than here, or at least a drive-through. But that's a narrow view, like judging a book by its cover, or a black hole by its silhouette, which is basically a dark circle with attitude. Even in our universe, worlds look different. Some are gas giants with diamond rains, others icy moons with subsurface oceans, perfect for ice fishing aliens or a chilly spa day. Yet we still call them worlds, even if they'd make terrible vacation spots with 0 stars on Yelp. It's helpful to think of a world less as a container and more as a spectrum. Between quantum foam and multiverse nesting, there's a lot of room for variety and creativity. A realm sustaining patterns, evolving entities, modifying its fabric intentionally. It doesn't sound like much, but it's huge cosmically, like upgrading from a studio apartment to a mansion with infinite rooms and no mortgage. And if it happened more than once inside black holes or elsewhere, it's worth serious consideration. For example, consider holographic models where information on the horizon projects inward like a simulation, They suggest worlds can exist without traditional matter, expanding the definition to non-physical forms, where reality might be a computational network rather than tangible space. Basically, the universe is a giant VR game, and we're all NPCs wondering if the players are laughing at us, or if we're the ones controlling the controller. Let's look at an example close to home, or as close as black holes get without sucking you in for an unwanted hug. The accretion disk around a black hole, a swirling ring of superheated gas and plasma, like the universe's hottest pizza spinning at relativistic speeds. No solid ground, no life as we know it, yet it's a dynamic system with energy flows, magnetic fields, and particle interactions implying complexity, or at least a really good light show worthy of a Las Vegas strip. Because what's important isn't the solidity, but the pattern, coordinated flows, long-term stability, shared dynamics, emissions. Even without inhabitants, it's evidence of collective behavior across scales, like a flash mob in space choreographed by gravity. Going further back, the earliest evidence of structure in our universe comes from cosmic microwave background fluctuations, implying seeding, growth, perhaps precursors to galaxies from the hot, dense early days. Not modern worlds, but worlds in their own context, proof of fabrics working abstractly, like the universe doodling before getting serious about stars and planets. To make this even more vivid, let's consider hypothetical scenarios. Suppose a hidden world inside a black hole has evolved life forms that navigate time dilation as easily as we navigate traffic. Perhaps they have time lanes for fast and slow living, or imagine societies that use the singularity as a central hub, like a cosmic capital city where all paths lead but none return. These ideas stretch the imagination, but they help us appreciate the diversity possible in such realms. So now imagine a world not billions of years old, but nested inside a black hole for eons, perhaps with its own history of rises and falls. What would we expect to find? It depends a lot on what it was like. If built with quantum fields, strings, brains, exotic particles, those don't last in our detectors, vanishing like promises in politics or diet plans. If they entombed knowledge with rituals but no durable signals, we might find echoes but miss the meaning, like overhearing a conversation in a language made of math or binary code. And if they didn't develop observable emissions or used forms we don't recognize as structure, their stories could be completely lost, poof, like a magician's trick without the reveal, or a firework that fizzes instead of bangs. Worse, if they didn't manifest in observable space-time or spent most existence in environments not good for signal propagation, detection chances shrink faster than your enthusiasm for Monday mornings or a balloon in a vacuum. If a world emerged in high curvature zones, singularities, or firewalls, most relics vanish in instants, let alone eons. It's not hiding. It's gravity playing hide and seek with the rules stacked against us, and gravity always wins. We must also be careful not to project too much. We're used to seeing worlds in forms we experience, 3 dimensions, linear time, matter-energy duality. But worlds don't have to look like ours. A black hole interior might not be expansive. It could be a cozy pocket dimension, where up is a suggestion or a luxury add-on. It might organize reality in ways not leaving large observable marks, like a minimalist artist who prefers blank canvases over busy murals. It might communicate via entanglement or visually through behaviors we have no words for. Imagine texting with quantum winks or sending memes via wave functions. And that raises a strange issue. Would we recognize it as a world? Think of quantum foam. To us, it's chaos, a bubbling sea at Planck scales, like the universe's espresso machine gone wild and over-caffeinated. But technically, it's a marvel. Fluctuations, virtual particles, potential fields. If we didn't know what we were looking at, we might mistake it for empty noise like static on an old TV or a bad radio station. Scale it up eons or bury it beyond horizons, even those traces could vanish, leaving us to say it must be the wind, or probably just cosmic static. So when thinking about hidden worlds, we need to think like cosmologists and theorists, and maybe a comedian, to lighten the load and keep our sanity intact. We're not just looking for planets, we're looking for patterns, anomalies, disruptions, unexpected entropy concentrations, field changes not matching known processes, odd quantum ratios, things that might suggest something was there doing something unusual, like a cosmic whoopee cushion waiting to surprise us. There's also the question of duration. How long does a world need to last to leave marks? Not long cosmically. Our universe transformed in just 13 billion years of expansion, from hot soup to galaxy buffet with all the trimmings. In black hole interiors, it's just a fleeting warp, but the informational impact is measurable. Entangled particles, holographic encodings, radiation bursts. Even if it vanished tomorrow, some changes would be detectable for epochs, perhaps eons, like a bad haircut that takes forever to grow out, or a tattoo you regret but can't remove. To delve deeper, let's consider the implications for exploration. If hidden worlds exist, our current tools, telescopes, detectors, simulations, might be like using a magnifying glass to study the ocean floor. We need new approaches, perhaps quantum telescopes or AI that can decode the language of gravity. But until then, we're left with speculation, which is half the fun, like brainstorming for a sci-fi novel. So perhaps the better question isn't if a hidden world existed, but if we're asking the right questions to detect it. We look for signs meaningful to us, stars, life, signals. But if the signs are stranger, smaller, or in places we haven't thought to look, like checking your pockets for keys that were in your hand all along, or searching for glasses that are on your head, we'll continue. Because to answer fully, we need to see how black holes behave over long spans, not just seconds or years, but entire cosmic cycles. And that means looking at warping forces, what stays, what fades, and why. And if we're lucky, maybe find a punchline in the process, because laughter is the best way to face the void. Take the example of simulated universes in quantum computers today, surviving mere moments without leaving physical traces, but highlighting that worlds can exist without massive physical traces, making the idea of black hole worlds more plausible, where they might have blended into quantum fabrics to the point of indistinguishability. It's like the universe saying, "You thought I was deep? Hold my beer and watch this trick. Here's another gem to keep things light. What did one black hole say to the other? You're so massive, even light can't escape your charm." If black holes had dating apps, that'd be the pickup line of the century. If you want to hide something forever, you don't need to crush it or evaporate it. You just need to leave it inside a black hole and wait. Not hours or millennia, but long enough for gravity to work. Because black holes don't stand still. They spin like cosmic fidget spinners on overdrive. They merge like corporate takeovers gone wild. They radiate like a slow cooker on low, simmering away eons. And almost everything within them is temporary by default, like fashion trends, viral memes, or New Year's resolutions that fizzle by February. Start with tidal forces, the universe's ultimate stretch routine. Gravity gradients stretch and squeeze, spaghettifying matter into thin streams. Imagine turning into human pasta, but without the sauce or the Italian accent. Particles align, bonds break, structures deform. It doesn't take long for a star to become plasma, then quarks, like a bad makeover show where the after is just a mess. And if those remnants aren't preserved under unusual conditions, quantum stabilization, exotic states, they're as good as gone cosmically, leaving you to wonder if the universe has an undo button, or if it's more of a delete and forget type, start with tidal forces, the universe's ultimate stretch routine. Gravity gradients stretch and squeeze, spaghettifying matter into thin streams. Imagine turning into human pasta, but without the sauce or the Italian accent. Particles align, bonds break, structures deform. It doesn't take long for a star to become plasma, then quarks, like a bad makeover show where the after is just a mess. And if those remnants aren't preserved under unusual conditions, quantum stabilization, exotic states, they're as good as gone cosmically, leaving you to wonder if the universe has an undo button, or if it's more of a delete and forget type. Gravitational dynamics are another major player, the drama queens of the cosmos. Black holes aren't isolated, they're social butterflies in the cosmic party, orbiting, colliding, ringing down with waves rippling space-time like a bad karaoke performance where the mic feedback is eternal. When they do, they create mergers, grow horizons, perhaps birth new interiors in a grand display of gravitational fireworks. That last process, ring down, is especially important. It means entire realities are gradually pulled and perhaps nested. Anything in them, fields, particles, worlds, twists and becomes part of the singularity. Not buried, reshaped like clay in a potter's wheel, gone haywire or a bad pottery class project. The average lifespan of a stellar black hole is immense, 1067 years for evaporation, sounding eternal until you remember the universe's potential heat death in 10100 years, when even black holes might say, "Time's up, folks, lights out." That means most black hole interiors will be recycled multiple times through mergers and decays. If an ancient world lived near the horizon, or in now-merged zones, there's a real chance their traces are now at a singularity, slowly leaking as radiation. Outer universes last longer, but even they don't keep perfect records. Expansion dilates signals like watering down soup until it's just flavored water. Dark energy accelerates forgetting, like a forgetful friend who promises to call but never does. Quantum decoherence wears them down like sandpaper on wood. Nebulae come and go like fashion trends. Galaxies collide like bumper cars at a fair. Even giant quasars can fade over time, dimming like a flashlight with dying batteries or a star's retirement glow. The solid view from a cosmic perspective is often just the current state of something in flux, like trying to take a selfie during an earthquake or a family photo where everyone blinks. The cosmic microwave background is often seen as a great archive, radiation patterns stacked like echoes of the Big Bang, a snapshot of the universe as a baby. But that archive is missing chapters, like a novel with pages torn out for coffee coasters or used as napkins. There are gaps where fluctuations never settled or were obscured later by foregrounds, cosmic dust, or other interference. Those gaps are called anisotropies, and they remind us the cosmic record is incomplete. It's a patchwork stitched from what happened to survive, with some parts looking like they were sewn by a cat high on catnip. So when asking if another world existed inside a black hole eons ago, the burden of proof is immense. Not that we haven't found their horizons, but the odds of anything surviving that long are tiny to vanishing, like winning the lottery while being struck by lightning during a shark attack in the desert. And even if something survives, it has to be in a place not evaporated, merged, buried too deep, or completely altered, like finding parking in a busy city during rush hour. Look at how we find black holes themselves. Gravitational lensing distorts light like a funhouse mirror that makes everything look funny. Some we only detect through subtle changes in star motions, like spotting a ninja by the rustle of leaves or a ghost by the creak of a floorboard. Now imagine trying to find something smaller than a hole, a nested world, encoded field, warped realm. Unless preserved in a perfect quantum niche, it's extremely hard to detect. And preservation alone isn't enough. Most cosmological surveys aren't looking for nested intelligence signs. They're looking for matter, energy, dark components, like hunting for treasure, but only digging for dirt or fool's gold. They check cosmic layers for expansion and structure, not societies or realms. And if something doesn't look artificial, if it's not signal-shaped or obviously manufactured, it might not be recognized for what it is. Even when finding something unusual, the first assumption isn't a world. It's natural process, and that's a reasonable bias. Gravity can create complex patterned structures, jets, rings, horizons. Without context, it's hard to say what's natural, what's emergent. A perfect symmetry could be an artifact or a fluctuation. This is part of why black hole cosmology focuses on indirect evidence. Instead of looking for buildings or tools, it asks if a prior world changed cosmic chemistry or expansion in detectable ways. In other words, not what they built, but their impact, like judging a party by the mess left behind or the hangover the next day. Even that is hard to track because natural events can create similar changes. Volcanic eruptions? Wait, no, cosmic. Big bangs, inflations, phase transitions, all leave fingerprints that could look like nested activity, like confusing a fireworks show for a war or a meteor shower for UFOs. So the challenge isn't just finding evidence, but interpreting it. And that requires humility, not because it's possible, but because completely ruling it out requires more certainty than the cosmos usually allows. We think reality is a straight line with clear boundaries and voids, but the cosmic record doesn't care about straight lines. It cares about curvature, density, evaporation, and entanglement. It rewrites itself constantly, and that means most of what happened inside black holes, most of what was ever structured, said, thought, or evolved, vanishes, not hidden, just dissolved, like sugar in coffee, sweet but gone. We're not done yet. If gravity is good at warping, then we need to understand what resists that warping, what lasts, not just epochs, but entire cosmic ages. So, next we'll look at the types of evidence that might endure and how to recognize them. Not horizons, not singularities, but something subtler, more informational than physical, more stubborn than matter. Think of how cosmic inflation and dark energy are warping our universe today, forecasting our own future, where even the grandest structures might become echoes. And if expansion is a modern warping force, black holes have seen countless ancient versions, from mergers to evaporations, each time twisting the canvas clean with ruthless efficiency, leaving us to ponder the blank slate. To expand this section, let's dive into the mathematical side a bit more, without getting too technical. After all, we're not here to do homework. The warping is governed by equations like the Kerr metric for spinning black holes, which describes how space-time twists around them like a vortex. Imagine if your morning coffee swirl was the model for the universe. Stir too fast and everything gets sucked in. These equations show that inside, time and space swap roles, with time becoming spatial and space-time-like, which is as confusing as it sounds, like walking through a door and finding the room is the hallway. This swap could allow for stable regions where worlds might exist, but it's all theoretical, planning a vacation to a place that might not exist. Furthermore, the forces of warping aren't just destructive, they're creative too. In some models, the intense gravity could compress matter into new forms, perhaps creating exotic particles or even new laws of physics in localized pockets. If a hidden world harnessed this, they could have technology we can't imagine, like gravity surfboards or time loop entertainment systems. But again, Without signals, it's speculation. That's why the quantum record doesn't tell all. In summary, it tells what gravity allows to be preserved. The universe is tells what we happen to model, carving out possibilities while erasing others, and willing to interpret. They remind us that change is constant. It doesn't tell the full story of complexity in the cosmos. Just a pause in the grand dance. Certainly not the full story of nested realities, leaving room for endless debate. When people hear black hole interior laughs along the way, they often picture a dark void, a crushing point where physics breaks, like the inside of your wallet after a shopping spree or a closet full of clothes but nothing to wear. But real interiors are rarely like that. They're theoretical, partial, inferred from equations that make your head spin faster than the hole itself. The quantum record is one of our best tools for understanding hidden realms, but it doesn't give a full picture. It's like trying to reconstruct a symphony from a few static notes, a torn score and scattered echoes, or piecing together a concert from audience selfies and half-heard tunes. For every state we model in the interior, there are probably dozens or hundreds that left no trace. Some never stabilized. Some did, but the signals were destroyed in the chaos. Others are still entangled where we haven't probed, hiding like that one sock under the couch or a secret in a locked diary. Stabilization depends on a combination of factors: how and where the matter entered, the type of horizon that forms it, the speed of infall where the quantum effects tunnel the information away like a sneaky escape artist, whether the location is dynamically stable, and whether later mergers or evaporations expose the signal without scrambling it into nonsense. That's a lot of conditions, like a recipe with too many steps. The odds are against preservation from the start, and for most of cosmic history, the places where complexity might thrive, near horizons, in accretion flows in warped zones, aren't good for records. They're too active, too curved, too exposed, like trying to write a diary during a roller coaster ride or a rock concert. Now imagine trying to preserve not just particles, but structures, fields, worlds, things that don't even start with the durability of quanta or fields. The odds drop further, like betting on a three-legged horse in a race. Even entangled states, relatively resilient, can be hard to decode and recognize out of context. A qubit could be information or just noise, like mistaking static for a radio hit or a whisper for wind. Without patterns or related signals, it's hard to say. And most informational materials don't survive like fields, fading like ink in rain. So if looking for evidence of past nested worlds, we might only find it if they existed near one of those rare stable zones, and then got caught in a preservation-friendly merger. That's a narrow window, and it assumes they left informational remains. Complex worlds, especially if advanced, might handle endings in ways that don't promote record-keeping. Dissolution, transcendence, phase shifts, like a graceful exit stage left. And further, there's a subtler issue. What if the world advanced to the point of no longer leaving classical remains at all? If they entangled into holographic states or evolved into something less local, more distributed, less observable? We don't know if that's possible, but if so, the quantum record isn't just silent. Right now, most theories in quantum gravity are abstract, non-local, or processed to the point they wouldn't register as natural to anyone studying our signals. Eons from now, a future theorist might find a thin entropy layer in a Hawking spectrum. It might raise questions or be dismissed as an anomaly, like, probably just cosmic indigestion, or another glitch in the matrix. Interpretation matters as much as calculation. And that brings up something often overlooked in quantum record discussions. Not just what's preserved, but how we analyze it. We see what we expect to see, and the idea of worlds nesting inside black holes doesn't fit comfortably into most frameworks. So unless the evidence is overwhelming, it's likely classified as natural variation or unexplained anomaly. Not negligence, but because science does that. It favors the simplest explanation that fits the evidence. And worlds, especially hidden ones, isn't the simplest explanation. It's like explaining a missing sock with black hole ate it instead of dryer monster, when the truth is probably under the bed. Still, we have other tools, not just fields and particles, but signals, marks in radiation, horizons, traces not from matter, but from processes. And that's where we go next, into evidence not dependent on quanta, not about particles, but about what happens when something starts changing the fabric it inhabits. When a world leaves fingerprints not through structures or entities, but through information. Remember that quanta aren't just abstract bits, but also invisible impressions like entanglement changes, where complexity has altered the cosmos's balance. For example, in the ring down of black hole mergers, waveform layers show sudden shifts, possibly from internal dynamics or something else, illustrating that the quantum record can tell stories through information, not just form. And if a hidden world caused something similar, it could be mistaken for a natural fluctuation, like confusing a symphony for background noise. To make this section richer, let's explore a case study, the firewall paradox, where quantum mechanics and general relativity clash at the horizon. Some theorists propose a firewall of high-energy particles that would incinerate anything crossing, while others argue for a smooth transition. If a hidden world exists, it might have navigated this by evolving fire-resistant forms or hacking the system, like cosmic firefighters or hackers in a matrix. This paradox highlights the limitations, as our record can't resolve it yet, leaving us with more questions than answers. In addition, the quantum record's incompleteness extends to observational biases. Telescopes like James Webb are revealing early universes, but they're limited by light speed and expansion. We see the past, but not the full picture, like watching a movie with scenes cut for time. This reminds us that our understanding is a work in progress, full of blanks to fill. In recent years, scientists like those exploring black hole cosmology have posed a question that's both wild and grounded in solid theory. They asked, if a complex world existed inside a black hole eons before our observations, would we detect it in the cosmic record? They didn't argue that such a world existed. Instead, they explored how physics would start looking. And in doing so, they named this question a nested universe model. The name nods to ideas where black holes birth new cosmoses, with singularities as big bangs, like the universe's version of surprise its twins, or a never-ending family tree. But the model isn't abstract. It's about testing the limits of relativity and quantum gravity. It's about asking if our universe's structure is unique, or could resemble something much older, hidden deep in gravitational folds, like finding grandma's secret cookie recipe in the attic, or a time capsule from a previous era. The premise is simple, yet profound. If a complex world like a universe developed inside a black hole, say 10 or 50 billion years ago, then vanished or stabilized into something stable, what traces would it leave? And would those traces survive mergers, evaporation, and subsequent quantum disturbances over that time? The scientists start with what we know. Our universe leaves cosmological fingerprints. We change expansion rates with dark energy. We alter dark energy balances. We deposit informational patterns like microwave anisotropies into the fabric, like cosmic graffiti. These global, long-lasting changes are being encoded in space-time right now, a record for future explorers. So the question becomes, which changes are the most durable, and would they look different if created by a nested world than by ours? The models break it down into a few main types of evidence, each with its own flavor. One is informational anomalies, changes in entropy distributions or holographic encodings. For example, universe formation shifts the information balance on horizons. This change is preserved in radiation spectra and wave patterns. If something similar happened far in the past, it could suggest nested processes, even if the world itself is long gone, like finding an old receipt and wondering what party it was from, or a ticket stub from a concert you wish you'd attended. Another type is synthetic states. Complex worlds produce entanglements and fields that don't occur naturally. Many compounds degrade slowly and could theoretically survive eons in some form. Quantum bits have already shown up in the remotest simulations, even theoretical voids. If we found an ancient layer with unnatural superpositions, we'd have to ask where they came from, like discovering a smartphone in a dinosaur fossil or a modern coin in an ancient tomb. Then there's energy use. Nested worlds need dynamics to thrive. If a previous one harnessed gravitational energy, it would release not just waves, but leave ash-like residues, distinct waste in the cosmic dust. These could accumulate in spectra and be detectable, like how we detect merger remnants from ancient collisions, or cosmic litter from a long-gone picnic that the universe never cleaned up. Then phase transitions the universe's mood swings. Complex activity might accelerate shifts across scales. This kind of signature, sudden drop in symmetry, especially large structures, could leave a clear mark in the quantum record. If something similar happened in the past without an obvious natural cause, like inflation or cooling, it might hint at a nested agent, like a plot twist where the butler was a black hole all along, or a surprise guest at the cosmic party. But here's where things get complicated and a bit frustrating. Many similar signals can be caused by natural processes, mimicking the traces perfectly. For example, the early universe's inflation saw rapid expansion, symmetry breaking, and major entropy disruption. It left some informational fingerprints similar to what a nested world might produce. Yet, as far as we know, no prior world was involved. It was just the universe stretching its legs after birth. So how to distinguish natural events from those caused by complexity? That's the hardest part, like telling identical twins apart when one is a master impersonator, or separating fact from fiction in a tall tale. Black hole cosmology doesn't claim we've found proof of hidden worlds. It asks if we'd recognize proof if it existed. And more importantly, it asks us to think about the traces we're leaving and how long they last. Because even our most durable signals, entanglements, microwave patterns, wave echoes, aren't guaranteed to survive cosmic ages. They could decohere, be buried too deep, or erased by heat death and resurgence. Even if some survive, they might be scattered and hard to interpret without broader context, like reading a book with half the pages and code or a map with no compass. This forces a shift in thinking, a re-evaluation of our approach. Instead of looking for traditional structures, planets, life, we need to think like quantum archaeologists, digging through data with care. We need to seek subtle, indirect clues, informational changes, anomalies in radiation layers, disruptions in entanglement patterns. And we need to be open to some strange features we've already seen in the cosmic record might have alternative explanations, like that cold spot in the CMB being a hello from another world, or just the universe's beauty mark or acne scar. This isn't calling for conspiracy or fringe theories. We're not talking tinfoil hats here. It's a framework for asking better questions, treating the possibility of nested worlds as a scientific hypothesis, not myth or legend, but a testable idea. And like any scientific hypothesis, it can be tested, challenged, refined, or dismissed based on evidence, or laughed at if it turns out to be a cosmic joke on us all. The hypothesis doesn't tell us someone nested before. It just tells us that if someone did, their traces would be hard to find. And it gives us a starting point to think about what to look for, how to interpret it, and what it means, not just scientifically, but how we see ourselves in this cosmos' story as players or mere spectators, and so we move on. If such traces exist, they won't come to us as maps or messages neatly wrapped. They'll be found in spectra, entanglements, thin layers of strange states, requiring patience and ingenuity to uncover. And the real question becomes, have we already found any without realizing what they are? Recently, 2025 discoveries of spin anomalies in early galaxies might relate to natural formation events, but they suggest ways for scientists to further test black hole cosmology, like an example of how new data can revive old ideas and spark new debates. And if these anomalies are natural, they remind us the universe is full of surprises, where the line between natural and nested might be blurrier than we think, and perhaps some natural events in the past are legacies of hidden worlds, waiting for us to connect the dots. Expanding on this, let's consider the role of dark matter in these models. Dark matter, that invisible stuff making up 85% of the universe's mass, could be key to nested worlds, perhaps forming structures inside black holes that we can't see but can infer from gravitational effects. If a hidden world manipulated dark matter, the traces might be in missing mass or unusual clusters, adding another layer to the puzzle, like solving a jigsaw where most pieces are invisible. Moreover, informational traces could include quantum entanglement networks that span horizons, linking outer and inner worlds in ways that defy classical physics. If we detect entangled particles from black hole radiation, it could hint at organized activity inside, like a cosmic telephone line with static on the line. In conclusion for this part, black hole cosmology opens doors to possibilities that challenge our understanding, inviting us to think bigger, bolder, and with a touch of humor to keep from getting lost in the void. If tomorrow you were pulled toward a black hole, no escape, no ship, just falling freely like a leaf in the wind, what would the interior look like a moment later? 100 seconds, a millennium, or perhaps an eternity compressed into a heartbeat? It's a dark but oddly useful thought experiment, one that helps understand the kind of traces a world like ours really leaves inside, and more importantly, how long they last. In the first few instants, not much changes, at least from your perspective. Time dilates for outsiders. You seem frozen at the horizon, like a bad Zoom call on infinite buffer, but for you the fall continues smoothly, perhaps with a view of the universe compressing into a bright ring above, like the world's worst halo or a cosmic crown of thorns. But quickly, without external reference or a GPS signal, the systems supporting your reality start failing. Gravity gradients stretch your body. Particles align in ways they shouldn't. Structures begin to warp. After just a few Planck time quantum effects might kick in with a vengeance. Fields fluctuate wildly. Entanglements form strange loops, like cosmic spaghetti code gone haywire. In a decade of internal time, many particles collapse into the singularity. Waves ring like bells in a cathedral of doom. In an eon, Hawking radiation starts leaking your information outward, but scrambled, holographic, like sending a text with autocorrect gone rogue or a message in a bottle that's been through a blender. Orbital probes, if you had any, start failing as metrics curve and horizons shift. Most will tunnel or evaporate in epochs, leaving only the deepest ones, slowly decohering in silent twist overhead. 10,000 internal cycles later, even those echoes start fading like old photographs. Quantum foam fully reclaims warped zones, bubbling over everything. Singularities perhaps birth new phases, restarting the cycle. What's left depends on spin and charge. Stable orbits might last longer. Think ergospheres or Corchi horizons, regions where physics gets extra weird. But most interior dynamics won't hold up. Go further. 100,000 cycles and almost all entry traces vanish. Only the deepest encodings, most stable firewalls, and metric modifications, curvatures, torsions, altered entanglements, might still be detectable. But even they fill in or get buried, like hiding your mess under the bed when company comes over. So after an evaporation lifetime, what survives? Not much. Perhaps a few states in radiation spectra scattered like crumbs. Perhaps layers in quantum foam showing entropy spikes, like blips on a radar. These would be the true fossils of entry, not paths, but informational echoes, like leaving a voicemail that's all static and call me back, but no one picks up. If you crossed tomorrow, the interior would start reshaping you almost immediately. No malice, just mechanics, tidal forces, quantum tunneling, metric shifts. All normal gravitational processes would continue uninterrupted like a conveyor belt in a factory. And over time, the idea you were ever there would become harder to prove, like explaining where the other sock went or why the fridge light is on when the door is closed. This isn't just philosophy, it's central to the hidden world question. Because if ours could be warped so thoroughly with all our scale and complexity, how can we expect any earlier world's traces to fare better? It also gives us a benchmark. If something about us lasts, if any informational signature endures, that's perhaps what we should look for when asking if worlds nest inside. Not structures, not entities, but residues, alterations, information, like the crumbs that tell you there was a cookie. And there's another layer to this experiment. Some of our most persistent signs aren't what we carried, but what we changed. Entanglements we formed, curvatures we influenced, isotopes from our decay, phase shifts, redistributed quanta. These aren't paths. They're metric modifications, hard to undo. Like that stain on the carpet that no cleaner can fix, or a dent in the car that's a story in itself. So now imagine you're a theorist eons in the future analysing ancient Hawking spectra. You see a thin, strange layer, higher entropy levels, complexity drop, synthetic state traces, perhaps ratios that shouldn't be there. You might ask what happened here, natural or something else. That's where this thought experiment takes us. By imagining our own crossing, we get a clearer sense of what evidence really endures, what rises to cosmic signal, and what sadly just fades away, like a star that burns bright but leaves only darkness. Add details about quantum simulations and digital models in the thought experiment. If you cross with AI data, cloud encodings would dissolve in instants, but some deep holographic projections might leave informational fossils as entangled bits, making the idea of digital legacy intriguing, like an encoded layer in the horizon. And if simulations self-sustain, perhaps part of our complexity survives as code, a digital world without forms, wandering in forgotten metrics, waiting to be decoded by someone or something in the future. This raises questions. Would future observers recognize it as a world, or dismiss it as a natural fluctuation, like we might with ancient signals? Or worse, think it's just the universe's bad code, like a glitchy app that won't close or a virus that thinks it's art. To extend the experiment, suppose you cross with companions, a crew of explorers. Each person's perspective might differ due to relativity, with one experiencing seconds while another ages years. This relativity of experience could mirror how hidden worlds might perceive time, adding a layer of philosophical depth to the scenario. Next, we'll track that signal, what it looks like, where it goes, and how it might be mistaken for something else. Because even if we leave marks, the challenge is recognizing them for what they are, like finding a message in a bottle and thinking it's just litter. Deep gravity doesn't count miles or parsecs. It works in approximates, events, patterns stretching beyond observation, history, even causality. And if we want to ask if another world might have existed in a black hole's interior, we must learn to think in that language. Because deep gravity doesn't describe what happened nearby. It tells what's encoded in folds. Most of what we know about black holes comes not from direct views but from informational structure. Including gravitational waves, X-ray burst-enhanced light, and simulated horizons in labs, play pretend for grown-ups with supercomputers. These signals form gradually depending on the dynamics. Matter unfolds in disks like a cosmic carousel. Particles tunnel at edges like sneaky escape artists. Radiation leaks slowly like a dripping faucet. The result is a kind of archive where each pattern gives clues about what the whole was like when it formed, like reading tea leaves, but the tea is space-time and the leaves are quanta. This is the language of deep gravity, and though it doesn't speak full equations, it has vocabulary. Spin parameters, charge levels, mass ratios, wave amplitudes, magnetic orientations. It tells of formations, atmospheric analogues, what matter fell, and merger abundance. It even tells of catastrophic events, collisions, evaporations, information losses, and rarely hints at something stranger like a cosmic plot twist or an unexpected guest. Some of the most detailed records come from places where change is slow and preservation good. Quiet horizons, undisturbed mergers, deep quantum layers. Scientists simulate long, cylindrical paths called geodesics and examine layer by layer, bit by bit. They look for shifts, amplitude changes, state content, field presence. Sometimes a phase change is enough to signal a reality shift, like the universe changing channels mid-show or flipping the script. This is where context matters. It's not enough to find an informational signature. It needs to match other evidence. Curvature rise coinciding with phase shifts. Strange states appearing globally, not locally. Sudden heavy field jumps alongside energy indicators. Only by assembling these pieces do we start suspecting something more than random or catastrophe. And even then we're guessing. The deeper in gravity, the fewer reliable tools. Many dramatic events happened billions of years ago. Any clues they left have been curved, folded, buried, and exposed multiple times. Metrics endure, but they change too. Signals get scrambled, layers vanish, nothing is clean, like a crime scene after a party or a kitchen after baking with kids. Yet some signals are stubborn, clinging on like that one friend who won't leave the party. There are parameters that evolve so slowly they timestamp eons. There are orientation changes matching known cycles in cosmic fields, giving us a kind of gravitational calendar, like marking birthdays in stone. There are states forming only under specific conditions, density, spin, or quantum environments. These are the phrases, the punctuation in deep gravity's language. If a world influenced the interior strongly enough, and in the right way, its impact could show up here. But the hard part is recognizing them. Right now, scientists occasionally find unexplained anomalies, spikes or shifts not matching known events. Most eventually attribute to natural causes. Some remain unsolved, sitting quietly in literature, neither dismissed nor pursued, not because they are unimportant, but because without more context, there's not much to do. Science needs patterns, not just points. And that's perhaps where hidden world traces sit. Hidden in plain sight, mistaken for natural events, like a spy in a bad disguise or a chameleon on a rainbow. If the signature is short or faint or local, it might not raise alarms, or attributed to something like merger ringdowns or radiation bursts or sudden metric shifts caused by quantum changes. All known phenomena, all happened multiple times. Saying intelligence did this is a bold claim, requiring not just anomalous data, but a framework explaining why intelligence is the most likely source. Without that, even a true hypothesis might be overlooked, like ignoring a diamond because it looks like glass or missing a masterpiece in a garage sale. So deep gravity's language is real. It's in metrics, information, the slow rhythm of horizons and entanglements. It tells what changed, roughly when, and often how, but not always why. That part requires interpretation, inference, sometimes imagination, and a pinch of skepticism to keep it grounded. And in that interpretive space, the hidden world question continues to sit, unproven. Perhaps unprovable, but not impossible. And perhaps in the future, with more advanced gravitational detectors, we'll hear those whispers from the interiors clearer, signals currently too faint to recognize. For example, modern LIGO upgrades are helping us read this language in more detail, opening possibilities for detecting anomalies previously missed, and maybe one day, we'll find patterns suggesting nested worlds, like finally understanding a foreign joke after years of confusion, or decoding a message that was there all along. One of the most persistent signs a world might leave isn't structure or matter, it's information. When processing quantum states, synthesizing fields, harnessing gravity, or altering holographic encodings, we change the cosmos in ways written into spectra and waves. These changes are often abstract but widespread, and when they happen fast or globally, they leave sharp signatures, like a tattoo that's hard to cover up or a scar with a story. Let's start with synthetic states. Modern theories produce an astonishing variety of phenomena that don't occur naturally. Superpositions, entanglements, exotic vacua, like the universe's secret spice rack, full of flavors we can't taste. Some decohere quickly when exposed to metrics or firewalls, like ice in the sun. Others are remarkably persistent, especially when holographic. Quantum bits, for example, have shown up in the remotest simulations. Some studies suggest they could remain coherent for epochs in the right conditions. But even states have limits. Left near singularities, they collapse. In stable horizons, they might last longer, but become harder to detect. And a state alone doesn't prove a world. A strange superposition layer might raise questions, but without context. Without evidence of intentional encoding, it could look like an odd natural fluctuation, especially if everything else is gone, like finding a puzzle piece that doesn't fit any box. Then fields. We think fields are durable, and they are, but only in the right circumstances. Most fields fluctuate over time. Gauge fields dissipate. Even scalar fields resistant to decay don't last forever, like a battery that eventually dies. Field configurations can endure a few epochs if left undisturbed in low curvature zones. But eons, unlikely, unless sealed in highly stable settings, say in supersymmetric pockets or deep interiors, not many chances they'll survive intact, and even then, they're hard to distinguish from natural vacua unless the pattern or symmetry is clear, like confusing a painting with a blank canvas. Radioactive analogues are different. Some are synthetic, created only through high-energy reactions, including states like certain qubits or transentangled particles not occurring naturally in significant amounts. If found in the cosmic record outside known events, they could suggest complex activity. But most have short coherence times enough to decohere to background levels over eons. Still, some like long-lived entanglements or topological defects are persistent enough that traces could remain in the right conditions, like that one party guest who won't leave even after the music stops. Energy harnessing is another possibility. Burning gravitational potential releases waves with a distinct signature, specifically altered amplitude to frequency ratios. If this kind of change appears suddenly and cosmically in ancient spectra, it could suggest large-scale processing. But again, natural processes can cause similar patterns, including mergers and inflations. We need additional clues to support a technological source, like a Made by Worlds Inca label. Another possibility is unusual concentrations of certain states like exotic matter, or rare quantum numbers often used in advanced models. Generating and refining these live waste. If found at high levels in ancient encodings or waves, especially patterns suggesting processing rather than natural distribution, They could be evidence of complexity. But these states move through systems in complex ways. They tunnel, they decohere, they migrate. Isolating the source isn't easy, like tracking a rumor in a crowd. What about physical structures? Large, deep metrics, things like stable orbits, Cauchy horizons, or underground analogues, might last longer than transient states, especially if altering local gravity. But recognizing them after cosmic ages is hard, especially if tectonic forces shift or bury the area. Fluctuations, collapses, and radiation can erase even major features, and without clear artificial symmetry, it's hard to distinguish a encoded realm from a natural pocket, like confusing a basement with a bat condo or a palace with a cave. Holographic encodings are surprisingly durable, and some forms actually get stronger over time due to boundary effects. Ancient ADS CFT models, for example, have survived theoretical scrutiny over decades. Modern formulas might last longer, but exposure matters. Curvature, phase changes, and quantum noise all take a toll, and in deep gravity, even encodings might become unrecognizable, just a strange pattern in spectra, like a message that's been through too many translations. Topological defects and glass-like states fare better. They're stable, and ancient defect networks are often among the most persistent cosmic artifacts. In the right conditions, defect fragments could last eons, especially if buried and not exposed to decoherence cycles. But a fragment alone tells little. It needs shape, pattern, or presence in quantities unlikely naturally to suggest artificial origin, like finding a mug that says "World's Best Dad" in ancient dirt, or a defect that spells "hello" in Morse code. Then there are indirect signals, changes to dynamics, information webs, or metric chemistry. Modern simulations transform landscapes. They compact data, deplete resources, alter evolution patterns. Irrigation analogues change flow chemistry. Computations leave residues. Expansion and processing reduce diversity. Even after abandonment, these impacts linger. In metric records for epochs, perhaps ages, not enough for deep gravity but more than most artificial states, like the ghost of a simulation haunting the code. All this means if a past world existed, the most durable traces are likely subtle. Not monuments, but patterns. Not entities, but anomalies. Something in spectra that doesn't belong. Disruptions in the slow natural rhythm. And those traces must be found, recognized, and interpreted correctly. No small task when working with gravity older than most galaxies, like reading a book in a language you barely know. Meanwhile, non-durable traces surround us now. Data, simulations, theories, the content of our inquiries. They go first, bits flip, fields collapse, digital signals fade when coherence cuts. Our entire digital culture could become a blank spot in spectra, known only through other informational changes from when we pondered, like the internet going poof, leaving historians to guess from memes carved in stone or encoded in waves. So we return to the question, what endures? Not much, but perhaps enough. Enough to leave a mark, if not a story. Enough to make someone one day pause and wonder. Not exactly what it was, but if something was, and if gravity, despite all it warps, keeps a few stubborn signals hidden in its slow, silent archive. Perhaps in some cases the most enduring trace is metric changes. If a hidden world intervened in fabrics, they might still exist in today's gravity DNA. A hidden legacy in the cosmos's bloodstream. For example, if they twisted spins or edited states, those mutations could propagate through expansion, becoming part of modern dynamics we take for natural, like a whisper from the interior in this gravitational code of waves and fields around us. This raises intriguing possibilities. Could some natural traits in current cosmology be engineered by lost worlds? like inheriting a family recipe with a secret ingredient you never questioned. To expand, let's consider hypothetical enduring artifacts. Suppose a world created eternal encodings using topological knots, structures that can't be untied without breaking the fabric. These could survive as defects in space-time, detectable as anomalies in waves, or perhaps they left messages in radiation patterns like cosmic Morse code. But again, interpretation is key. What we see as noise might be a symphony. The ocean doesn't preserve secrets. It dismantles them with the patience of a master thief. It scatters, buries, scrapes them away, like a beach erasing footprints with each wave. For a civilization living near or interacting strongly with the sea, this might not seem threatening at first glance. After all, water sustains life, connects continents, provides food, transport, inspiration. It's the planet's lifeblood. But when it comes to preservation, especially over millions of years, the ocean is an unrelenting editor, erasing nearly everything it touches, like a wet napkin to a whiteboard or a delete key on a watery keyboard. Still, it's worth asking, if a technological civilization once existed and interacted meaningfully with the ocean, what kind of marks would it leave? And would those marks pass the deep time test, surviving the relentless churn? Start with basics. Today, most major cities are built near coasts. Fact. Access to trade, resources, mild climates, and that ocean view premium, but it also makes them vulnerable. Coasts shift like moods, storms erode with fury, sea levels rise and fall like tides on steroids, and geologically, oceans move dramatically, like the tide that always takes your sandcastle, no matter how fortified. Over the last 20,000 years, sea levels rose more than 100 meters, flooding entire continental shelves and turning dry land into underwater real estate. In past ice ages, vast areas now underwater were dry land, with rivers flowing, forests growing, and perhaps civilizations thriving. Now those areas are submerged under sediment and salt water, hard to access and almost impossible to study comprehensively. This makes finding any ancient civilization that lived along ancient coasts inherently difficult. Not because such a civilization couldn't have lived there, but because those very areas have been erased, buried, or made inaccessible. Underwater archaeology is challenging at best, diving with gear, dealing with pressure, visibility low as fog. Doing it on submerged continental shelves buried under post-glacial sediment is another level, like digging for treasure with a spoon in a haystack that's also a swamp. Assume a past civilization developed maritime technology, not just boats, but ports, harbours, perhaps coastal infrastructure like docks or lighthouses. What happens to those structures over deep time? Wood decays into mush, ropes rot like forgotten fruit, stone crumbles under waves, metals corrode fast in saltwater environments like rust on steroids. Unless the structure is quickly buried in mud or sand in low oxygen conditions, little chance it survives more than a few thousand years, let alone millions. And even if it survives, it's almost undetectable without high-resolution scanning targeted there, like finding a needle in a haystack that's underwater and moving with currents. Theoretical artificial structures could leave geomorphic marks, straight lines, unnatural angles, repeating patterns in seabed topography, like underwater crop circles. But nature can create surprisingly geometric features. Waves carve, currents sculpt, volcanoes build. And most underwater anomalies, once investigated, turn out to be natural formations like rock outcrops or coral reefs. Without context or artifacts, it's hard to argue otherwise, like seeing a rock formation and thinking it's Atlantis, when it's just a rock having a good day or posing for tourists. Now think bigger and deeper. If the civilization wasn't just near the ocean, but used it heavily, perhaps waste disposal or energy production, would that leave signals? Modern humans have left clear geochemical fingerprints in the ocean. There's giant floating garbage patches, mercury and lead pollution in deep-sea fish, radioactive isotopes from mid-20th century weapons tests, fertilizer runoff signs causing dead zones near coasts, and microplastics found at the bottom of ocean trenches, carried there by sinking currents and marine life, like the ocean's version of "you left your trash, now it's my problem," with particles hitchhiking on plankton. Some signals could last tens of thousands of years, especially buried in sediments where time moves slowly. If an ancient civilization introduced synthetic compounds or changed ocean chemistry on a large enough scale, those changes might be detectable today, but subtle and sneaky. And even if found, they must be distinguished from natural processes, hydrothermal vents spewing minerals, volcanic activity adding chemicals, organic matter decay creating layers, all leaving their own complex chemical signatures like nature's forgery or a confusing cocktail. This is the essence of what you might call the lost technology test. Could the technological activities of a long-vanished civilization survive in a way that's still readable today? And if so, would we recognize it as artificial or classify it as unexplained anomaly, or worse, ignore it entirely, like finding an old phone in the sand and thinking it's a fancy shell or a weird rock? At Lunar Station, Dr. Alex Thompson establishes a lab to study captured Zephyrian tech. His team discovers their energy weapons operate on fixed frequencies, and they begin developing broadband jammers to disable them. Thompson, briefing Morrison, says excitedly, "We're talking about massive radio jammers tuned to their weapon signatures. A few weeks, and we could blind them in the next fight. Humanity builds a new, larger fleet. Earth's factories churn out warships at unprecedented speed, while engineers refine kinetic weapons based on lessons from Mars. Every Zephyrian wreck is analyzed, every tactic documented to forge a new military doctrine, one rooted not in tech superiority, but in adaptability and innovation. Most importantly, the victory transforms humanity. For the first time, every nation, culture, and people unites for a single goal: survival. Old conflicts fade. Scientists, engineers, pilots, and civilians work as one, sharing a belief that humanity can not only survive but shape the galaxy's future. What does this story tell us? If aliens invade, humanity won't just fight, we'll adapt, innovate, and endure. We may lack their technology, but our stubborn will, audacity, and ability to turn the ordinary into weapons define us. From prehistoric hunters facing beasts to pilots charging into battle at deadly speeds, humanity finds a way to overcome any odds, no matter how slim. This victory didn't just save Earth, it sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity has arrived and we won't be subdued. Other species are watching, some with hope, others with fear, but all know a new power has emerged, one ready to face any empire that dares challenge our freedom. Thank you for listening to Cosmic Horizons. Share your thoughts. Are we ready if that day comes? If you were part of humanity's fleet, what would you do against a galactic empire? I'm Jake Larson, and I'll see you in the next episode, where we'll explore more mysteries and challenges of the vast universe.